Cannery Row, Chapter 5. Western Biological was right across the street and facing the vacant lot. Lee Chong's grocery was on its catty corner right, and Dora's Bear Flag restaurant was on its catty corner left. Western Biological deals in strange and beautiful wares. It sells the lovely animals of the sea, the sponges, tourniquets, anemones, the stars and buttle stars and sun stars, the bivalves, barnacles, the worms and shells, the fabulous and multiform little brothers, the living moving flowers of the sea, nudibranches and tectibranches, the spiked and knobbed and needly urchins, the crabs and demi-crabs, the little dragons, the snapping shrimps, and ghost shrimps so transparent that they hardly throw a shadow. And Western Biological sells bugs and snails and spiders and rattlesnakes and rats and honeybees and Gila monsters. These are all for sale. Then there are little unborn humans, some whole and others sliced thin and mounted on slides. And for students there are sharks with the blood drained out, and yellow and blue color substituted in veins and arteries so that you may follow the systems with a scalpel. And there are cats with colored veins and arteries, and frogs the same. You can order anything living from Western Biological, and sooner or later you will get it. It is a low building facing the street. The basement is the storeroom with shelves clear to the ceiling loaded with jars of preserved animals, and in the basement is a sink and instruments for embalming and for injecting. Then you go through the backyard to a covered shed on piles over the ocean, and here are the tanks for the larger animals, the sharks and rays and octopi, each in their concrete tanks. There is a stairway up from the front of the building, and a door that opens into an office where there is a desk piled high with unopened mail, filing cabinets, and a safe with the door propped open. Once the safe got locked by mistake and no one knew the combination, and in the safe was an open can of sardines and a piece of Roquefort cheese. Before the combination could be sent by the maker of the lock, there was trouble in the safe. It was then that Doc devised a method for getting revenge on a bank if anyone should ever want to. "Rent a safety deposit box," he said, "then deposit in it one whole fresh salmon and go away for 6 months. After the trouble with the safe, it was not permitted to keep food there anymore. It is kept in the filing cabinets. Behind the office is a room where in aquaria are many living animals. There are also the microscopes and the slides and the drug cabinets, the cases of laboratory glass, the workbenches and little motors, the chemicals. From this room comes smells, formalin and dry starfish and seawater and menthol, carbolic acid and acetic acid, smell of brown wrapping paper and straw and rope, smell of chloroform and ether, smell of ozone from the motors, smell of fine steel and thin lubricant from the microscopes, smell of banana oil and rubber tubing, smell of drying wool socks and boots, sharp pungent smell of rattlesnakes, and musty frightening smell of rats. And through the back door comes the smell of kelp and barnacles when the tide is out, and the smell of salt and spray when the tide is in. To the left, the office opens into a library. The walls are bookcases to the ceiling, boxes of pamphlets and separates, books of all kinds, dictionaries, encyclopedias, poetry, plays. A great phonograph stands against the wall with hundreds of records lined up beside it. Under the window is a redwood bed, and on the walls and to the bookcases are pinned reproductions of Daumier and Graham, Titian and Leonardo and Picasso, Dali and George Grosz, pinned here and there at eye level so that you can look at them if you want to. There are chairs and benches in this little room, and of course the bed. As many as 40 people have been here at one time. Behind this library or music room, or whatever you want to call it, is the kitchen, a narrow chamber with a gas stove, a water heater, and a sink. But whereas some food is kept in the filing cabinets in the office, dishes and cooking fat and vegetables are kept in glass-fronted sectional bookcases in the kitchen. No whimsy dictated this. It just happened. From the ceiling of the kitchen hang pieces of bacon and salami and black bêche de mer. Behind the kitchen is a toilet and a shower. The toilet leaked for 5 years until a clever and handsome guest fixed it with a piece of chewing gum. Doc is the owner and operator of the Western Biological Laboratory. Doc is rather small, deceptively small, for he is wiry and very strong, and when passionate anger comes on him, he can be very fierce. He wears a beard, and his face is half Christ and half satyr, and his face tells the truth. It is said that he has helped many a girl out of one trouble and into another. Doc has the hands of a brain surgeon and a cool, warm mind. Doc tips his hat to dogs as he drives by, and the dogs look up and smile at him. He can kill anything for need, but he could not even hurt a feeling for pleasure. He has one great fear, that of getting his head wet, so that summer or winter he ordinarily wears a rain hat. He will wade in a tide pool up to his chest without feeling damp, but a drop of rainwater on his head makes him feel panicky. Over a period of years, Doc dug himself into Cannery Row to an extent not even he suspected. He became the fountain of philosophy and science and art. In the laboratory, the girls from Dora's heard the plain songs and Gregorian music for the first time. Li Chong listened while Li Po was read to him in English. Henri the painter heard for the first time the Book of the Dead and was so moved that he changed his medium. Henri had been painting with glue, iron rust, and colored chicken feathers, but he changed, and his next 4 paintings were done entirely with different kinds of nutshells. Doc would listen to any kind of nonsense and change it for you to a kind of wisdom. His mind had no horizon, and his sympathy had no warp. He could talk to children, telling them very profound things so that they understood. He lived in a world of wonders, of excitement. He was concupiscent as a rabbit and gentle as hell. Everyone who knew him was indebted to him, and everyone who thought of him thought next, I really must do something nice for Doc.